The one big question about this team, though, has nothing to do with any of the people we just mentioned.
No.
It is about Dylan Cruz and James Wood, two of the best 10 prospects in baseball. When do they show up?
Yeah, I think now anytime you have one top 10 prospect in baseball who's close to the big leagues, you're wondering when they're going to come up. But to have two guys both in the outfield, when the outfield picture, as we just described, now Lane Thomas is good. And maybe Lane Thomas is like, you could see a situation where the very easy thing to imagine is the Nats are bad and they trade Lane Thomas and like the next day they call up both Cruz and Wood, right? Like that's something you could very much see happening. But yeah, I mean, it's all about those guys. Like those, and now they don't have to be all-stars this year, right? It's not like if they come up and are only average that the Nationals are doomed. But in terms of excitement, in terms of what's going to get people to want to go to Nationals games again, this is going to be what it is. And it will probably happen at some point this season.
That's the data point, right? The memory that Nationals fans will have from the 2024 season will be the debuts of these two players. Unless, Jake Irvin throws a perfect game. However, my key player this year for the Nats is Mackenzie Gore. I think it's Gore, Ruiz, Abrams, and Gray. This quartet represent the hypothetical core that's already at the big league level of the next good Nats team. All four of those players were acquired in trades from the teardown from the 2019 team. Gore and Ruiz were the return for Trey Turner and Max Scherzer from the Dodgers. And then CJ Abrams and Mackenzie Gore were the return from the Padres, part of that return for Juan Soto, who's only 25. But for me, Gore is the one who has shown the most potential, and I feel the best about a breakout. He was the best pitching prospect in the world a handful of years ago, and he's still doing the things that made him that. Yeah. And so I have enough faith in him as a player. I think he's really smart. I think he's really talented, and I think he's going to take a big step forward this year.
Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable. Like for him, it's mostly been a matter of health. So if he can stay on the mound and throw 150 innings, I think he's going to be pretty good. My key player is Kyber Ruiz, their catcher. We are all in on CJ Abrams. Like, I'm not really worried about CJ Abrams, and I'm not going to say I'm worried about Ruiz, but Ruiz...
Oh, I'm worried about Ruiz.
Okay, well, so again, there's more concerns with him as a switch hitting catcher. They've already extended him, so they've said, like, you are our franchise catcher. And because he has shown, like, he does have elite contact skills, I would say above average power for a catcher as well. The defense was so rough last year, like, truly, truly bad. And not that he was, projected to be a Gold Glover necessarily, but he's going to be the catcher. This isn't a situation where, he's going to be the DH at any point. Like, he's clearly the catcher. And for this whole pitching staff to improve also, he's going to be part of that equation as well. So I trust the bat. I still believe in him, but that's something that has to happen because we've already said this before on so many previews, like knowing who your catcher is going to be for the long time, they've committed to him. He's going to be the guy. So he needs to be a part of it on both sides of the ball.
Also, when we compare him to someone like Francisco Alvarez on the Mets, who we'll talk about a little bit later, Ruiz is 4 years older than Alvarez and was so unbelievably awful at certain parts of his game in 2023 that the bottom can drop out with him. First percentile base running value. First percentile fielding value. Okay. Awful chase rate. Did not hit the ball particularly hard that often.
I will say I'm bullish on. I think he will be an above average hitter. That part I'm less worried about, even though there are some red flags there. But at the defense, I mean,
he could be an above average hitter as a catcher,
right?
I don't think he's capable of being an above average first baseman or DH.
Sure, but that's why he needs to be a good catcher,
and I don't think he will be,
which he certainly wasn't last year.